Truck talk. Listen up. There was a pastor I was listening to yesterday who was speaking on this thought, and this thought was that of people's narrow-minded view of who God is. Let me explain what I mean by that. So essentially, many people, even in Christian circles, their mind of God, or who they believe God is in essence, starts in Genesis chapter 3 and ends in Revelation chapter 20. Well, basically, in Genesis chapter 3, if you know the story, Adam and Eve sinned and they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And in Revelation chapter 20, we see mankind, those who are without God, those who rejected their opportunity to be forgiven, to be sanctified for all of the things that they've done that are wrong. In Revelation chapter 20, they were thrown into the lake of fire. Many people's view on God comes back to Him only being the judge, Him only being a dictator, Him only exercising His justice. But God is so much more than that. Understand, at the center of God's heart, at the center of who God is, there is mercy, there is grace, there is love, and there is forgiveness. You see it reflected all through Scripture. And you say, come on, Josh, we look at the Old Testament, we see people getting zapped with fire from the sky because they fell short of what God required of them. There was a greater responsibility for them. They saw, they felt, they understood God's presence. But at the center of all that, we see in the Old Testament, even in the Old Testament, a tabernacle that was built. And at the center of that tabernacle, what sat at the very center of it? The mercy seat. We, as people, need to remember and understand that God's story did not start in Genesis chapter 3 when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. We also need to remember that it did not stop when God cast those without Him into the lake of fire. It started with Him creating a perfect world, looking at it and saying it is good. And then He looked at man and woman when He created them and He said it is very good. Be fruitful and multiply. And then we fell short. And there were consequences. And God made a way, even in the consequences of our sin. Even though He as a just God needs to punish sin, He made a way out, a way of escape from our sin. And in the end, even when people are cast into the lake of fire, and it is a tragic day that is going to take place someday soon, the story does not end there. It ends when God makes all things new. And believe me, that is just the beginning to something far greater. All things will be made new. Our God is loving. Our God is amazing. Our God is gracious. Our God is kind. And He is full of mercy. His mercy is new every morning. So take hold of that mercy this morning. Trust in it. And let the world around you know that that mercy is freely given to those who will receive it. Share it today. Love y'all.